My name is Joseph Miranda, the broker and owner of Miranda Executive Realty. Today is October 8th, 2024, and we have a very special Ask the Broker session in store for you. But before we get into that, we're going to take a moment to do our shameless plugs. So for any agents that are attending as guests or visitors in this meeting or later on if they watch the recording, please feel free to scan this QR code with your phone, and we'd be happy to tell you more about Miranda Executive Realty, and we can talk about how to take your career to the next level. Because today we have a guest speaker, it's going to be a little bit different format for this training. Normally we say save your questions or comments for the end, jot them down, but today our guest speaker has a little bit different format. She'll be happy to answer any questions as she's going through the training. So if you have a question that pertains to something that she's saying, be polite about it, raise your hand or put it in the message box over here, and she'll get to you as soon as she can. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest speaker today. Her name is Anu Alapati. She is, I've known Anu for, gosh, I don't know, probably 5, maybe 6 years. I originally met her through a very good friend of mine that I trust very much. I was purchasing a property that I was planning on flipping, but I was using conventional financing to do this. I ran into some speed bumps, or rather, I guess, insurmountable obstacles, I should call them. And I was speaking to my friend about it, and we were trying to figure out, what we should do. And I was grateful that he introduced me to Anu, who did my funding for this property, and it was an extremely successful flip. And from there, she's always been my go-to person. There's times when you need, if our customers need somebody, we feel like we should give them 2 or 3 people because we're not sure exactly of, the character of, who these people necessarily are. But Anu is the only hard money lender that I have ever used, that I have ever referred, that I ever introduced to any of my customers. I've worked with her personally on my own properties, on my own flips. I've referred her to customers that want to flip properties. I've also referred her to customers where we literally had a transaction that I think we needed to close in 2 or 3 days, and the financing fell through in those last 2 or 3 days. I called Anu right away. She jumped on it. She was very thorough, vetting the property, vetting the buyer. Buyer was able to close on time, didn't lose his deposit. Later on, he was able to refinance into a mortgage once, his issues got figured out. So she has saved me many, many, many times, and I'm very grateful that I know Anu. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her. Let her talk about private money lending. Again, if you have any questions, just raise your hand or put it in the messages, and she'll answer it as she gets to it, guys. Anu, I think you need to present.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it now.
Perfect. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to meet your agents, Joe, and do this presentation. Okay, so just a minute. Yeah, so before we dive into the presentation, I just want to let you guys know I'm not a realtor and I'm not an attorney or CPA or a banker. So whatever information I'm sharing here is just for, I guess, informational purposes. So that way we are sharing our experiences and information. But if you ever need professional advice in any of these fields, please reach out to the professionals. So a little bit about me. I am a real estate investor. Means I buy homes and fix them, flip them, or keep them for rentals. And also, I'm a private money lender. Um, Before my real estate career started, um, I did my first master's in England in a completely different field, post-harvest technology and food supply chain logistics. So I was trying to find a job here in US, and I wasn't able to find a suitable job. I was overqualified for most of the jobs. Then I decided to change my career into computer science. I went to FAU and I did my master's in computer science. So I worked as a software engineer for several years in a local software company. And then my manager at the company actually introduced me to real estate. So it's, I never thought I would be doing real estate. And then I started in 2008, right after the downturn and the Great Recession. So I've been only seeing the market go up since that time. And since 2008, I've closed several transactions in different capacities as an investor, buying them for cash purchases, and also as a private lender. Um, so I just like to associate myself with good people. And so if you do have any questions on any of the properties you are working or any of the leads you are screening or thinking about how to structure a deal or like what to do, we don't have to do any business, but yeah, I'm happy to just share my thoughts on any of these topics or anything, or share information. So just reach out to me at this information here. So I guess the main topic today we're going to cover is private money funding. And Joe actually, when he introduced, he covered a little bit about what is the private money funding and how he used it. So have you guys used private money before? Yeah, sounds good, Joe. So I know you did. Um, so before we go to private money, let's go talk about different types of financing. Probably you know all this information, but we will go through it quickly just for sake of like understanding the differences between private money and traditional financing that we all know of. Okay, so the most buyers or most sellers, whatever when they are doing the loans, they do conventional loans, FHA loans, and then VA loans, and I guess home equity loans. If you want to use it that for equity purposes, and private loans, right? So the private loans here is what I specialize in, and this is what we're going to talk more about later on. Other type of loans are hard money loans. Hard money and private money is almost the same, but like there are companies that do hard money loans. So the private money loans is like more private. You work one-on-one with me. Personal loans, bridge loans, construction loans, and business loans. And we're going to talk about each of these loan types uh, on next slide. So I'm just going to skip through to the private money. So as the name indicates, private money, it's really a private agreement with a lender about a transaction. Okay, so as a private lender, I want to tell you guys what is the difference between, well, I don't know if whatever expectations you may have, I want to clear those up. So as a private lender, I'm a direct lender using my own funds, right? So I'm not a mortgage broker. I'm not going to refer you to somebody else who has the funds. Um, I am the lender here. Um, so I don't have to submit an application or approval process to somebody else. So there is no like middle people here. So if you want a loan, you submit all the information and then I review it and I provide the decision. So because I provide the decision, I use my own funds, I can take the risk. So sometimes when deals fall through or like they don't close, they might have permit issues or lien issues or anything else. So I can make exceptions if sometimes needed. Um, I may not like them, but if because I understand both investing side as well as the lending side, so I am able to review them, save those deals. They don't have to not close. Um, so unlike traditional banks, I know probably most of you or all of us try to get a traditional financing, including me. How difficult it is to jump through the hoops to get to any financing, the conditions and all that other stuff. Even before they start reviewing your application, you need to submit enough information. And with mine, I don't do that because especially that's just ridiculous, right? So it's so whatever you get an answer pretty quickly. Yeah, so I don't try to sneak in any prepayment penalties or like fees and hey, if you do this, oh, you didn't know about these fees, right? So I don't like surprises and I do not like to give surprises to others. So if you do end up doing business, I like to have everything upfront. Um, I am as I said, I am a rehabber myself. That's how I started into real estate, and I still do rehabbing. And I was a property owner, doing rental properties for many years. Um, so yeah, if we run into a problem with the closing where I'm funding, I'm always there to work with you. I do understand title work pretty well because I've been doing this for many years. So we always try to come up with a solution and not just close on the property. Um, so we work together as a team and we grow as a team, right? So I'm always about providing the best service where whatever I do. So um, and if there is some if we run into an issue or if we run into a situation or scenario, if I think I cannot help you, I can always be resource. I do have quite a bit of connections because I started doing this for many years and most of my business is through referrals. So I can always refer you or provide you additional resources as needed. Do you guys have any questions or thoughts before we move on to the next slides? Okay, so if no questions, then we can move on to the next slide. So this animation is a little animation, but we're going to go through each of those scenarios separately. So I am like a bank, but obviously maybe very much easier, right? So than working with a bank. Um, So most of the borrowers I work with are borrowing money or getting a private loan for fix and flips. These properties don't qualify for traditional financing. Um, Banks would not loan money, or they need to be closing really fast. And then banks will take a long time. So that's the most of the fix and flips don't qualify for financing because of the property condition. So I finance other investors who do fix and flips. I finance other investors who do new construction. So they start with the vacant lot, or they actually, I just closed on another transaction in Boca, in Spanish Village. They demolished the old houses, and then they rebuild the modern new houses. And other situation is a bridge loan. They need a loan for, I don't know, few months before they get their traditional financing lined up, but they still need to close on this property, or they're selling a property. So there are different scenarios and situations where people need a bridge loan before they move from private loan to a traditional financing. And rental properties. A lot of my borrowers throughout the years, I noticed they acquired rental properties with my help. So they buy these properties, fix them, put the tenants, wait for the seasoning time, and then they refinance with the traditional loans once everything is in an order. So yeah, we talked about fix and flips. So I offer money to buy the homes and fix them. Um, and with fix and flips or with any kind of purchases, you make the money when you buy the property at the right price, right? So some people take their rental properties. Um, yeah, the season, as we talked about, and then they go to traditional financing. People, hey, I bought this property, I did this, and we have the tenants, we have the cash flow, and then they get the traditional financing. So these, by the way, these are all the projects I funded before. These pictures are from my own projects. So this is another thing. A lot of people started doing new construction. And they sell really well, so they're like really profitable to a lot of investors. So we do have like in the new constructions, we do have a draw schedule. Okay, so you get so much funds after foundation, after putting the shell, after the roofing, drywall, right? So based on the milestones they meet, they get the draws. And with the new construction, they only pay money on the interest on the money they take as the draws. So they, even if we, for example, just for the round figures sake, if there is a loan for 1 million and then they only used $300,000 from it, so far they only pay interest on $300,000 while waiting for the other construction to complete. So the bridge or cash out loans, buyers who need some short-term financing when conventional loans fall through at the last minute, or are they waiting for something else to on their bank accounts, or loans for them to clear, or they're waiting for the sale of their property, whatever there are several different scenarios where people need a bridge loan. Or the conventional lender is taking, I don't know, 60 days or 90 days. A lot of times those are the cases where you need a bridge loan. And sometimes people actually want to do cash out if they have an investment properties that are free and clear. They want to use that money to fix another property or do something else. That's another common scenario we see, why people take this short-term private loans in different scenarios. And yeah, so this is a commercial property I financed, and sometimes people buy commercial properties for cash flow, and I do them the loans, and then once they get their things in order, they refinance them. Most of the so just the purpose of my loans are for short-term financing, right? So these are never a long-term solution for financing. So these are all the short-term, and then we close, as Joe said, I can close within like 24 to 48 hours once the title work is done. Um, it's not a long-term solution, right? So these are the different scenarios that people use private money for. So yeah, we talked about what is private money, why people use that in different scenarios. But then we can see like, what is the process? How do I get a private loan? So the process is very simple. So I don't make it at all complicated because I don't like you guys to work hard and give me a ton of like details, information, this and that, and then waste your time and my time, right? So it's very simple. I usually ask for property information, details, pictures, what is the purchase price, you have any pictures, and just the basic information. And then I review it, and then if I think I can help with that loan, I'll provide a term sheet that is pretty clear, simple, not like a long document. So that then you or your clients will review it, and then if you agree to the terms and if you want to proceed, then we do the closing. My closing team is amazing too, so they do it things really quickly, and they stay on top of everything. So I'm really grateful for my closing team. But yeah, I guess that's it. So you provide information. I don't make anything lengthy or complicated in any way. So you are borrowing money on the property, and then it has to make sense, of course, right? So I'm not going to lend on just about anything, but that actually I believe where you can make money, right? So that's important. Yeah, so if you are any of you, um, you want to unmute her?
I do have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I know this is not like the traditional banks, and the requirements are different. I guess I'm just curious to know like how do you as a private lender mitigate your risk? That's number one. I see you talk about terms of the loan, and what do you consider short term? 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and what do you hold as collateral? Is the property being held as collateral? Just so I can understand a little bit more about the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, so this is exactly like a bank, right? So when you go to bank, you do take a property with you. So we do take property as a collateral. It's not like I am handing out money, like some kind of a private loan. Like I don't know what is the right word to say. Yes, we do need a collateral, and collateral is the property. So that's why I'm saying, like, I have to analyze the property if it has enough value, or if you or whoever client is buying, they're buying, I guess, at the reasonable price or good price. Um, so what's the point of taking a private loan if you are not going to make any money yourself, right? So that's why we need to analyze the deal to make sure this is the there might be other deals that are good deals but may not fit our criteria, but most of the single family homes um, or any other homes, right? So we do commercial properties, we do single family, we do condos, as long as it makes sense. um, I do work throughout the Florida, not just in Broward County, and I was doing in Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan. But I decided to focus more on Florida. Um, so to mitigate my risk, we have to analyze the property to make sure the property has value, enough value, right? So that's the number one thing. That's why we need property address, pictures, and what is the buyer planning to do with the property, right? So all that information. So how is he or she going to pay the loan back? Um, so we need those details. So sometimes I make exceptions based on if I know a client, or if I know these clients will become friends, right? So it's like we work together as a team. Um, they know what they're doing, or like if they have a situation where I need to make some exceptions based on their personal history with me, I might do that. But yeah, I guess it really finding a right property is the key to get a private loan.
Okay.
Yeah. So does that answer your question, or do you?
Just one more. In terms of the time frame, it
Yes.
does it vary according to the property, or because I realize that this is a stopgap, and so what if you give somebody like a year's time frame, and let's say they don't fulfill within the year, what's usually like the next step?
Yeah. So usually they're like, these are really short-term loans, and typically you don't want to keep them for long-term, right? So these are like not a traditional loan. This is a solution for different scenarios, investing scenarios, or any other scenarios where you are going to make money, and I make a little bit of money being your private lender too. Um, so the most of the time they're like for 6 months. They, if you are fixing and flipping a property, they want to get out of the way as quickly as possible. And so 1 year, the longer you hold any of these rehab properties, they become expensive. So most of my investors and clients, they want to fix and flip, or like get going very quickly. And for the rental properties, they need 6 months of seasoning, whatever that is. I don't know the current rules right now. Um, yeah, after a year, as you asked, what if they can't pay the loan back after a year? We have to discuss. So I usually give them another extension for a point for 6 months, so they can get their things in order. So I always include that as part of my term sheet. But yeah, obviously after that time frame, some of my loans are going for longer based on different situations and scenarios. But yeah, usually they don't go for that long. So the investor or a realtor or a buyer, whoever it is, that person has to have a plan on what to do with the property after certain time. Yeah. Thankfully, I don't have to foreclose on anyone so far. So all these are doing well, but yes, it's I guess you have to have a plan, and then you have to buy the property right. Yeah.
So if I can jump in real quick, I will say one thing about Anu that should bring some comfort. Number one, she's an investor herself. Like you heard her say, she invests in rental properties, and she also invests in her own flip properties. So when, you know, when you have what you think might be a good deal, when you take it to a new, right, we've already done our own analysis. We've already looked at numbers and costs, things like that. But when you take this deal over to a new, she runs it through her own screening process as well. And I've sent her properties and she's asked questions that I didn't even think to ask, right? So you're going to have an experienced investor, number one, not only backing you, but number two, kind of also looking over your work, right? Making sure that your homework is accurate, your homework is correct, that your expectations are there. And she may catch things that as a new investor, you know, you may not catch. So, you know, not that she's going to be hovering over you when after the financing, she leaves you alone, right? You send her the monthly payments and, you know, whatever those terms are, you know, she's not hovering, you know, what's going on with this, what's going on with that. But, you know, because we are friends, and I don't want to say too much here, but, you know, I can tell you that a new does not want to foreclose on your property. I can tell you that for sure, right? If something happens, something goes wrong, to me, I think communication is the key. You know, if you can build that relationship there, but, you know, she does not want to foreclose on the property. And number one, she's going to help you with the homework, help you ask the questions that you need to ask. But also, you know, if something does happen, you know, you're going to communicate that to her, and hopefully she can help you find a solution for that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Joey. Absolutely. I sometimes, even with the most experienced investors who have done many deals with me, or I known them for many years, hey, I know, I think this is a great deal, and then we talk, and then I don't think this is as good as it seems. So my goal is not to just lend you money and make money on it, but my goal is to make sure you are successful, right? So that's the whole point of doing this for me. Yeah, so like a lot of private investors or like lenders or even hard money companies, they say they're going to give the loan, but when the time comes, they back out. And then some of those loans I also rescued. But yeah, I don't do that. I don't like to, when I commit to something, I always sees that through to make sure it's a win-win for everyone. So the second part of my story is as an investor, and I'm a cash buyer. The good thing about real estate I really enjoy is you work with a lot of people, you meet several people, you hear a lot of scenarios, you solve quite a bit of problems. I guess that's what our value add, right? So you hear different situations. You actually, I feel good about a lot of times I buy these properties from people or scenarios I try to help them solve, right? So that's one of the, I guess, gratifying things. Even though investors is bad, right? So investors are not really a bad word, right? It's a bad thing. We are there to help people with different situations. I have done almost all of these scenarios since 2008. So we do help people in tax situations when the properties are going for tax auctions because they're not able to pay the property taxes. And we been to situations where IRS liens don't go away. Whatever you do, they get attached to your property. So we worked with that situation. And people don't want to deal with inherited properties. That's one thing. And people don't want to deal with repairs, or they're not here, or they're not in a situation to handle that. So that's another situation where I can step in and buy as is. And some people are moving and some people are relocating to new places and they need to move. They don't want to hassle of listing a property, showing or making repairs. All those scenarios, probably you guys have seen this through. Some people don't want that hassle. So that's another situation where I come in and buy as a cash buyer, and sometimes we have foreclosures, right? So there has a foreclosure sale coming up and they have to get out, whatever it is. So we try to help them before it becomes a foreclosure, or even when they have a foreclosure date coming. We try to help them so that it doesn't go on their records as a foreclosure. They get to pay off the loan. We work different solutions, and city liens and violations. That's another thing. A lot of people, a lot of times, like sometimes in hundreds and thousands of dollars. So I just did a property in Pembroke Pines. The lady has like uh, close to $1 million in liens, and I did help her, and I did give her additional time to stay in the property, and she is so grateful. And she's like, "How did you do that?" And so yeah, we have different situations and scenarios. So if you come across any of these scenarios that you cannot just list as a traditional property on MLS or like a regular retail property, that's when I come in and we work together to find a solution for those kind of situations and properties. And I love to work with you guys to see, hey, if you have a situation or scenario, you can always run by me or Joe or anyone. Hey, what do we can do in this situation, right? So then we can brainstorm and come up with some solutions and ideas. Yeah, bad tenants, even I had some, right? So they're like hard to deal with, and some people don't want to deal with after a while, and it's yeah, it's quite stressful. But yeah, we do have a system and in place to deal with those kind of scenarios and divorce scenarios, any other scenarios. These are like not your like move-in ready homes that are, even some move-in ready homes, right? So they don't want, these buyers, sellers don't want to wait. They don't want to wait for showings to come through, this to come through. So they want a quick closing and they are ready to move on. So those are the situations we can definitely work together. I guess yeah, these are some of the points we discussed. So I am the direct buyer, so there is no like, oh yeah, some of these cash buyers that come across as cash buyers, they're not really cash buyers. They're trying to get a private loan or a hard money loan in the background. Are they trying to wholesale this property to other investors? Um, they put it under contract, they put the inspection, and they try to sell it to somebody else. Um, and they come to me for the private loan on some of these properties. So I've been doing this for a really long time, so I know that process. But yeah, when you deal with me, you deal with me. It's directly dealing with me. There are no surprises. So if I tell you I'm going to buy a property, I'm going to buy a property, unless something really good bad happens or we find out something that didn't add up, or some title issues. They're not even owners to sell, or something crazy like that happens, right? So I always respect your time and energy, just like how I would respect my time and energy. So I don't try to um, make anyone work and then not have the result or like what they need to get. Um, it's because I'm a cash buyer. I feel that like, just like I'm talking about Pembroke Pines property, she was going to lose the property, but I did buy it with $1 million lien on it because I'm using my own funds. I can make a decision on how to proceed, and we can get these properties closed really quickly, as So we always have a solution, right? So that's the key. So that's where we find a solution, and all of us involved make money. Um, that's about it. So how do I work when I'm buying a property? It's pretty similar to the other process, right? So as a buyer, I want to evaluate the property same way I'm evaluating the property when I'm lending the money. So um, I guess we collect the information, we send me the information, we look at different scenarios, and we come up with the idea on how to structure a deal. And I don't know if I can say this, Joe, or not, but most of the times when I'm working with realtors, right? So I try to work a agreement with them, right? So where we are making money together, and then I and we present an offer, and we present the proof of funds, um, and yeah, we all get paid. So um,
Yeah,
that's
you can definitely say that because that's what we're all here for, right? We're all here to make money. So, and that is one thing that I appreciate about Anu. I'm actually working with her on something right now. It's a higher price property that, she may come in as an investor for. And, I was really trying to find a solution for my customer. And I was like, okay, he's in, this person's not in such a great situation. What can we do to help him out? And, so we're still actively working on finding, kind of a win-win solution. But I told her, I said, look, in this situation, I don't, I just need to help him. I want, you to do well. I want him to do well. Don't worry about me. But, even in this case, she's like, well, no, we need to try to help you make some money too in this because, it's a lot of going back and forth in that. So, Anu really does want to see you win. The deals that she puts forward are, where everybody should win, right? Everybody should walk away feeling happy. Nobody should walk away feeling, whatever. She's right. The word investors sometimes can be, a bad word, but, an investor, and I mean, in a lot of these cases, is the only person that can come in and save one of these transactions, right? Like an investor is the only person. And when the investor is worried about, not only the person selling the property, not just, not only the agent, not only themselves, when the investor is worried about everybody, you have a really good partner in that case. So yeah, absolutely. You can definitely say that we all want to make money because we wouldn't be here if we didn't.
okay. So I guess yeah, we talked about this, right? So the different scenarios where people want no hassle as is, with all those issues. I buy them with all those issues, and we help them. And a lot of times these people are grateful, even though as Joe was saying, the investor word is not so kindly looked at most of the places, right? Um, yeah, so if you guys have any of the scenarios, right, so situations, either for that calls for a private money solution, or that calls for like, hey, it just present, let's present a cash offer. You can also try multiple scenarios with the same situation. See, maybe one works better, one doesn't work that well. So I'm always here to brainstorm with you, or like talk over or do research for you, or anything I can help with. um, I'm here to help, right? So it doesn't have to be some monetary gain for me. So I'm always willing to associate myself with good people, and I'm still learning too, right? So I'm always willing to share what I know with others. when you ask some questions, I sometimes think about, oh, maybe that can be done this way, right? So it's yeah, I guess I can be a good resource for you guys. So if you have any questions or if you want to run something by me, I'm always available. So texting would be probably the best way to reach me. Um, one more thing is, yeah, I know we're almost done. So it's one more thing I want to cover is I only do loans on investment properties. I do not do private loans for homesteaded property or because of the lending laws. So keep that in mind. I know sometimes I get a lot of times calls. Hey, this is the property where we're free and clear, but it's homesteaded. Can we borrow money on it to do whatever they need to do? Yeah, I don't think I ever done those kind of things. I don't do that. So my goal is to help as long as if they live there, and I think if it is not in a homesteaded property, I can, and it isn't considered as an investment, then I can probably do the loans on those ones. But I don't do anything with homesteaded or the traditional loans. So these are strictly for investment purposes, my lending solutions. I buy the homesteaded properties as a cash buyer, but yeah, I'm not allowed to lend on homesteaded properties. Is there any other questions from anyone? Does it make sense what I talked about?
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. Nobody has any questions?
Yeah, makes sense. No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, awesome. Well, listen, guys, or gals, I think it's all women on this call. But what I would encourage is grab Anu's contact information. Maybe Irene can share it later. Maybe she can put it in the chat on our WhatsApp. But I highly recommend having Anu as your backup person. If you go to a listing appointment and you see the property and maybe it's something that's not in great condition and you know that an investor is going to have to buy it anyway, send it over to Anu, right? I mean, maybe your finder's fee could be higher than, what the commission on that would be, or maybe you can get, a higher commission because you represent, the buyer or the seller. A lot of people, a lot of agents, and I mean not a lot, but some agents on the side, they do wholesaling, right? So rather than going and shopping it to a bunch of people, you shop it to Anu. If you're doing the calls for the instant cash offer leads that we have in Sierra, if you say you have a cash buyer lined up, you probably want to have a cash buyer lined up. So meet with Anu. I would recommend, sending her a text message and if she will, I don't know if she will, I don't want to put her out there. I think she will. Maybe take her for a cup of coffee, buy her lunch. I don't know, sit down and see how you can, work together. You see that it's all of the out of the box financing. There's no primary home. There's no VA, FHA, type of financing. This is, like you saw, tax liens, IRS problems, people that are in pre-foreclosure, people, properties that will not or cannot be financed in a traditional manner, new construction, right? Like whatever it is. And if you're not sure, there's only one way to find out, right? You got to ask. So save her information, reach out to her. Anu, I'm sorry if everybody reaches out, wants to buy you a cup of coffee and you don't have time. But she's much smarter than me, much more analytical than me. So I'm sure that she'll be able to figure out how to say that she can't if she can't, I hope. But I really do. You guys know we don't introduce anybody that we don't believe in. We don't introduce people that we've not worked with. We don't recommend somebody to anybody unless we know the type of work that they do, right? So by Anu being one of the few guest presenters that we've ever had, That should be a lot of credibility there. I think that, I think she's worth meeting for everybody. She will make everybody more money, including herself. So I'm off my soapbox now. I don't know if anybody else has anything.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That's really kind of you to say that. But yeah, that is how I once you get to know me, I think you will like to start working with me. And most of my friends or clients become friends. That's how I want to see this as a long-term game, not like one transaction, just like do whatever you need to do and get out. I don't look at anything in life short term. So that's for me, everything is about building relationship and everyone wins. And if you guys need a proof of funds, or if you go to a listing appointment and say, hey, I have a cash buyer, and the seller wants to know, is this a real cash buyer, or like, where is the money coming from? So if you guys need anything, right? So yeah, to show it to the seller or convince, whatever you need to do. So just reach out to me. I'm happy to chat with you guys. Yeah, anytime.
I love it. I love it. Thank you guys so much. One final shameless plug for any agents that are not already MX agents. Although on the call we've got all MX agents, but anybody that does want to learn more about what we do, wants to meet more great referral partners or lending partners, definitely scan that QR code, and we'd love to meet you guys. We'll go ahead and conclude today's training. Thank you so much, Anu. It's been a pleasure. I actually know a little bit more about your business as well, so I was happy that you were able to come in. Great presentation. You did a great job. It's a lot of things are more clear to me now. Next week we'll be having our roundtable group coaching.